Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Good Bit podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in this week. I'm very grateful for your time, and what an absolutely incredible film that we are chatting about this week once again. It is Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas from 1990, an absolute classic, a very beloved film, and for the first time ever, unbelievably, we're chatting about Goodfellas on the podcast. And thanks so much to everybody who's been listening the past few weeks. We've been receiving some lovely feedback and some lovely comments as of late. The podcast is doing really well and really taking off, and that's all down to everybody who's been listening, so I'm very grateful. And this week, I'm joined by another incredible guest. It is star of River City. It is the one and only. It's Stephen Purdon. How are you this morning?
Oh, mate, having a great day. Thanks for having me. Because I've really literally got nothing to do now. As I was just telling you before we started, I've just been told by the doctor that I've got mumps. So, mate, honestly, it's...
Let's start the podcast off with a health check. Mumps is not the best thing, but listen, we need to power through.
I'm absolutely petrified of the dentist, and I thought it was like an abscess, and I thought it was something in my tooth or something. I thought it was like my wisdom tooth or something, but I've not really got that much wisdom, mate, so it's really sore, so I'm not included in that. So, doctor says I've got mumps, so I am going to be in the house for the next week until this goes away. So, if any of the viewers are watching, I've got a bit of a swollen face on the left-hand side, do you know what I mean?
Aye, I can't really notice, don't worry, it's fine.
I'm hoping the beard covers it, mate. Do you know what I mean? So,
that's just going to grow out massive. People are going to go, you're right, mate, like, grow your beard out like that.
Like Tom Hanks in Castaway by the time my mumps are away.
Aye, Castaway was a film that totally came up during lockdown. I don't know if it's because it was like a same sort of theme, someone stuck in the same place all the time, but that's when I watched it for the first time. Great movie.
It is a good movie, aye. Can't go wrong with a bit of Tom Hanks at times.
That's it, man. I could listen to him read the I was going to say the Bible. I was going to say the phone book. I could listen and read the phone book. He's so interesting.
Aye, he is. He's great, mate. He is. He's brilliant. I think that was why oh God, man, I think I seen that in the cinema, actually.
Really? Aye?
I think I did. And just remember thinking, wow, like, looking at it from his perspective, going, the amount of content he's always had to record and stuff, it would have been, as much as, I don't know, it's like one of the movies where I think it would be impossible not to be kind of tapping into the whole method way of acting, because it's just
a bit messed up.
Aye, you and Wilson, the ball, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, fair play to him. It was some performance.
Aye, I don't know how many good acting partners he's had over the years, but Wilson the Ball's got to be one of the top ones for him.
He's up there, mate. I know he's got to be up there.
He's got to be iconic character. Yeah, listen, I see scenes like when he's on the beach and he's like freaking out and stuff like that. That's the stuff I'm assuming would be quite enjoyable to do, right? Because it's very character driven and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But see the bit where he's like in the plane crash and he's like flying about the plane and like it lands in the water and he's like kind of drowning and stuff like that. That must have been an absolute nightmare to film. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, I've kind of been there a wee bit, right? I've been there a wee bit. Been kind of, not many people for River City can say they do their own stunts, mate, right? But I don't. I am not as good looking and not as successful, but I am the Tom Cruise of Shield Inch, mate. Do you know what I mean? I've done my own stunts. I jumped in the Clyde once, you know what I mean? So I've been there, do you know what I mean? I jumped in the Clyde, you know what I mean? So I've kind of had the whole in the water, am I dead, am I not dead scene. It's not easy for us. It's not easy for guys like me and Tom, mate. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite...
Listen, all respect, mate. Honestly, I put you two in the same category, clearly. Aye, Tom Cruise is one as well. Was that he was jumping between buildings doing Mission Impossible and broke his ankle?
Mate, he's crazy. I watched a few interviews with him, so it's not really my type of movies or the kind of Mission Impossibles, right. But you can't help but be drawn to it when you see the backstory, like what he does, and a guy putting himself, he's basically pushing himself to the absolute max, and like, I mean, like I'm saying there, like, I had to jump into Clyde for a scene in River City, right, mate? I would never done like that in my life again. I was young then, fearless, but see now, if anybody asked me there, I'm like, not a chance. But then you see this guy jumping from building to building, it's like, I don't know how he does it, man. The guy's incredible.
I know. Did you see that clip of him like mid-lockdown when they started bringing production back and he was going mental at everybody?
He was going full Christian Bale, wasn't he, man?
That's right, Christian Bale as well. Aye. Just wish Christian Bale did the Batman voice when he was shooting the folk. I wouldn't. Aye, but the Tom Cruise one, like, I was listening and people were kind of freaking out about it, but I was like, he's got such a good point. Like, everybody was like looking at him to make sure everything was going to go smoothly, and then like he was just going mental, man.
I suppose, man, it's kind of like, I mean, you're talking, how much are you talking there budget-wise to get a kind of production like that up and going? Do you know what I mean, mate? Right. So for it to be shut down again, it's going to cost an absolute bomb in it. So you can kind of see where he's coming from.
Aye.
I'm just the type of I don't like confrontation. I maybe would have handled it a bit differently, but
Definitely.
it's kind of he's Tom Cruise, mate. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
Exactly. People
aye,
probably scared him. Although I don't know, he seems like that nice guy. Do you know what I mean? But
aye.
then when he
They're the
turns it
ones
on
you need
us,
to watch, though, mate.
right, right. Um, obviously when you're filming something quite, I don't know, low budget or whatever, you need to do all that kind of sitting about, and it's
Mhm.
fine. You just kind of wait for the moment to happen. But when it's someone like as high profile as him on a film, whether it was Mission Impossible or whatever they were filming, as you say, time is money. So I
Oh,
would
mate,
probably be raging as well.
of course, man. I mean, that must be. I mean, the overheads for something like that would be
I know,
phenomenal, mate.
I know.
Through the roof.
Well, I was going to ask you if you're a podcast kind of guy, a podcast fan, but not only a podcast guy, but you're a podcast host.
Aye.
How is Football Daft going, man? It's always nice to see the new episodes popping up.
Aye, mate. Mate. Do you know what? Same as yourself doing this, man. You know what it's like. It's just good fun. Do you know what I mean? It's just
That's it.
myself and Grado and Toe and John. So the four A's have just got a kind of good wee dynamic going on there, mate. So I kind of I really enjoy it. I was never into podcasts up
Right.
until when I started Football Daft. It was my mate Grado he is podcast daft. He's like, he watches podcasts every day,
Aye.
listens to them every day. He's obsessed with them. So it was him and Ewan that started it, and then Ewan kind of fell away from it. So Grado,
Mm.
me and him are doing Panto at the same time. We do Panto together most years. She says to us, Ewan's pulled out now. He's kind of things going on in his life. So he's
Yep.
like, do you want to come in and step in? So I was like, talking about football every week. Aye,
Totally.
sign me up, man. So aye, it's great fun, mate. But no, I mean, you'll know yourself, man. Podcasts are like such a big market now, innit? It's
Crazy,
incredible.
right?
I think even Doug's have got podcasts now, mate. I mean, everybody's got podcasts. But there's a podcast literally about anything, I think. Anything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's great, man. I mean, I enjoy it. It's great fun, as I'm sure you do as well, mate.
Aye. It's always a good hobby to have. And it
Aye.
makes, like, I don't know, no connections. I don't think that's a very professional word, but like it's a good way, it's a good excuse to kind of talk to your pals and get to know people better and stuff like that. That's what always kind of drew me towards it.
Totally, mate. Totally. I mean, we kind of, same as yourself, we still do occasionally have guests on, and the amount of people that, not so much class as friends, but the people you keep in touch with, and you know what it's
Yeah.
like, mate. It's the whole, I think podcasts and the whole social media kind of world are they're the same kind of world. Like, I use my Instagram sometimes as like a contacts book to try and get people to come on the podcast, and Twitter as
100%.
well. So then these people agree to come on, and you have a laugh with them, and you keep in touch, and you talk on social media a lot. So it's just nice, mate. And it's the modern world we live in now, mate, innit?
That's it, man. I think over lockdown as well, I think everybody like started one. Do you know what I mean? Everybody was
Oh,
like,
mate,
right, okay,
totally.
that's something we can do. And then it's not
Aye.
even like it's not the sort of thing where if you start one, then that means there's less to go about, and you know you're taking away business from other people. I think everybody's just kind of listens to the ones they like, and they have their
Aye.
subscriptions or whatever it is.
Of
So it's
course,
always a
mate,
good
of
thing. To have.
course. Aye. We've got a kind of Patreon side to it as well. So
Aye,
you've got a wee cult following that are always, it's like returning people coming on all the time.
yep.
So aye, it's great. It's great.
You don't want to call them fans, but you know it's like
Aye, aye.
listeners. Aye,
Aye,
definitely.
totally. Listeners, mate, aye.
Aye, well, I'd love to get Grado on the podcast, right? But I'm such a big wrestling fan. I'm
Right.
scared that I'm going to ask him and he's going to be like, you think I'm like a mad fanboy, just like, oh, come talk about wrestling. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, he's a very good actor as well. I'd love to have him on.
No, he's great, mate. I'll say to him, man, but I will warn you in advance. He's, excuse me, he's one of my best mates.
Aye,
And I probably talk to him sometimes throughout a day, more times than I talk to my wife, right? But he's hard to nail down. But I will ask the question. Once we finish recording this, you can share details and take it for there and just leave me out of it, mate. You can see the amount of times I have tried to set him up with people. It is
right, okay.
a nightmare, honestly. But I
That's
will
what I
put
can
you in
offer.
touch. I'll put you in touch.
Okay, maybe if you're helping me, that might be a bit better than me trying to get in touch. Because again, I'll be like the stranger being like, I love wrestling. I saw you wrestle at the Greenock Town Hall in 2018.
You would think so. You would think it'd make
I
it
know.
easier, but mate, honestly, oh my god, he's a very, he's a unique character.
Aye. Well, I'm going to
Brilliant
see
guy.
him. I'm going to see him on Saturday at the
So am
pavilion
I.
show.
Well, if my mum's cleared up, so am I. Me, my wife, and my kids. Aye.
Well,
My mum's.
I will not come near you if you get mumps, but
Oh, I know,
I'll say
mate.
hello
I
if I see
know.
you.
I know, mate. I know. We'll see how it goes. But I've got tickets for that as well. Me, my wife, and kids, because we went to the last one at the Pavilion, and he actually wanted me to go up and referee it, man.
And you were there, I know, that's right, yeah, that's right.
It was brilliant, mate. It was brilliant. My boy was just like, he was loving it because he's only 6, so that was the last big night out before lockdown. I think he was like 4 or 5, and he was just like, when I got on stage, I looked there and his face was just like, so it was,
Did you not tell him?
No, I just kidded. I just said to him, I'm going to the toilet, because I told Grado just to give me a wee text when I'm ready, when he's ready for me. So I said to my wife, I said to Nicola, I says, right, I'm away, my wife and my daughter and my son was there. So my daughter and my son were like, I need to talk, can I come with you? And I was like, no, wait here, the real back 2 seconds, I need to go and see somebody. And before I knew it, I was on stage, and that made my boys day, do you know what I mean?
That's
my
brilliant,
daughter as
man.
well, she liked it as well.
What a reaction you got, so you never know.
Great, man, great, aye.
Maybe you've got a future in the ring.
Mate, you know, it's always a nice backup in it when the old acting dries up, you know what I mean?
No, it's not good. No, you know, but it's not as reliable as act. Well, I don't even know if acting's reliable, but you know what I mean.
I don't know so much, mate. The two of them, kind of. I mean, I've been one of the lucky ones.
I know. No, I was a great show. I'd always remember talking about that one because it's like it was literally days before full on lockdown. Winter. It was the last thing.
It was the last night out we had. I remember me, my wife, and kids, because we went there. Then we went to Princess Square. We had lunch and that, and let the kids run about, and I think that was on either the Saturday or the Sunday. Right. Then I think the Monday, that's when the shit hit the fan, really. Do you know what I mean? So that week anyway, after it was like the last kind of moment of freedom.
I remember Grado saying actually on the stage, he was like, we actually don't know when the next time we're going to be working is. Like he said that to the audience about all the wrestlers and stuff, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like that's the kind of the unpredictability of the whole thing. You think it's bad enough?
I never thought it to the extent. I still kind of, it blows me away a wee bit when I think to the extent, because I remember that week after Grado's thing, me, Scott Fletcher and Ian Robertson were filming all day on set.
Right.
It was the 3 years all day, and there was wee whispers and murmurs going about that this was going to be the last day of filming, and it was almost that kind of giddy, excited last day of school feel to it, and we were all kind of in a weird way buzzing about what's going to happen, what is happening, it's so different. And then we get all sat down together at the end of the day going, right, that's it, we're shutting down, we think it will only be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're not 100% sure. And I remember driving home that day in work, felt like a night out, and the drive home felt like the next day with a hangover, because I was going, oh my God, this is so scary. I remember getting home to my wife going, I don't know what's happening. And then that was 6 months, we were shut down for 6 months, and it was very, very unsettling, scary times, especially for the kind of industry we work in, mate. So it was everything. There was all bets were off, man. You didn't know what was happening next. Do you know what I mean?
We were like theatres and stuff. Theatres first to close, last to open.
Man.
Like brutal, man.
Really hard. It was brutal, really brutal. But it was a dark time, man. Dark time.
Well, I kind of got in touch with you because I saw your Panto last year because I work at the theatre that you were doing it at, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those ones. Obviously, I hadn't worked a Panto before, and I know how the long runs are. Obviously, just being in the industry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was wild watching it like 19 times in a row, and then obviously it gets shut down again.
I know. Christmas
Eve, how was that? How was that experience working? I know it wasn't the first time you'd done it, but not only was that another long run of shows, but it was in like an uncertain time.
It was. So obviously, I've been doing Panto there since I think it's 2003. I think was my first one there. So I've been there a long time. But the year before, when we just done a recording and put it on YouTube because the original Panto was bizarre.
Carried the Panto on recording.
I know, it was mental. But then doing that one there, it was great getting back in the rehearsal room, doing Cinderella, obviously. Cinderella, wasn't it? It was Cinderella. Yep. Cinderella. They saw just wanted me, mate. Do you know what I mean?
No.
But no, it was such a great feeling being back on stage in front of a live audience again, because that's the first, obviously, we'd done it since lockdown. But there was just that air of inevitability again, going, I had a feeling. I remember saying to Grado and Scott, I says, we're not going to get past Christmas here, I don't think, man, because there was so many, there was just the news again, the numbers were rising, and you just knew, like, theatres again were going to get hit hard, and we did. But to be fair, we got a good run at it. We only missed out in 2 weeks, really. I mean, 2 weeks is a long time in Pantoland. You do a lot of shows in those 2 weeks, but we got from the start of December right up to Christmas Eve, and It was, again, the audience, and it's brilliant, man. It's so good, and it was a great experience. Great being back on stage and stuff, and hopefully this year we can get a full run at it.
Fingers crossed. There's a scene where I'm sure you have done it multiple years, but there's a scene where you run the bed and you kept falling off the bed and stuff. Oh my god! And that's what I loved about it, because I did see it so many nights in a row, but I was always laughing every time I saw it.
It's a workout in itself, man. Honestly, especially when you've got Grado lying on top of you, man. I'm very small, as you know, and he's very not small. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, it's like, it's one of these scenes where you don't rehearse it too much, because you don't really need to rehearse it. You need to it needs to have a structure, like all things with Panto. As much as the crowd all love the kind of ad libs and the things that go wrong, there needs to be a structure there. There's an art to it, there's a craft to it. You need to know how you're getting from A to B to C to D. You need to know how it's going to go. But the bits in between, you need to just keep it organic and just let it go. Do you know what I mean? So we did that quite a lot, maybe too much, the boss man would say. Do you know what I mean? But you need to, after the first 2 or 3 shows, what works. I mean, I've done that sketch umpteen times in the pavilion now, but you know what works, you know what doesn't work. But you kind of let it go as much as you can. Poor Liam, who played Buttons, he was under that bed for about 20 minutes because me and Grado kicked the backside out it so much. You know what I mean? Just getting to his part. But it's great fun, and I think that's the magic of Panto, that the crowd love, isn't it? So you need to give them as much of that as you can.
That's it. I think it's a Panto experience thing as well. You know when the pauses come, and you know how the audience are going to buzz at certain moments. Do you know what I mean? So,
totally.
Such a fun thing to do and watch and stuff like that. So fingers crossed this year it's just as good. What is it this year again?
Aladdin. It's weird. I've done Panto since I was 19, 20, and I've never done Aladdin, because the time they done Aladdin in the pavilion, I was filming River City right up until like mid-December. So I've never done Aladdin. So I'm really, it's a novelty for me, buzzing for a Panto. I'm always buzzing to do Panto, but it's a novelty me getting to do a Panto that I've never done before. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Tell me about when you started acting. Has it always been something that you've wanted to do? Has it been a thing that you tried to start when you were wee?
Well, it was just basically by accident, because I'm an East End of Glasgow boy, mate. I was never, my dad's like a plumber, my mum was various jobs over the years, so it doesn't run in the family at all, do you know what I mean? So, usual, I wanted to be a football player, kidding myself on, was never good enough. But it was just, even in my school, Smithycroft Secondary, I went to in Ridley. They never had drama there either. I think they might have it now, but they never had it when I went to school. But when I was in, I think it was like 3rd year or 4th year, Lynn Ramsey was doing a movie called Ratcatcher that was getting shot in Glasgow. And Lynn Ramsey's kind of Ken Loach-esque. She doesn't want to go for actors per se. She wants to get some people off the street to play some of the lead roles as well. So it was the most bizarre, amazing experience I've ever had in my life, right? So they came to the school, done screen tests and all that. We're all sitting in class going, what's a screen test? You want to go down? But if it'll get us out of moddies, let's go and get one.
Sorry, can I go to the toilet?
Where you just going? We're going down for the screen test. You know what I mean? So me and my mates go down. Honestly, hand on heart, thinking nothing of it, not knowing what we're getting into. We goes down. I think it was a guy called Tom who was doing it, and it was Vicky Beattie, the casting director. I can't remember. They liked what I done. They liked me, right? Not that I done anything, I just done what they told me to do, but they liked it. So I was like, right, cool. So a couple of days later, gets a phone call, we want to see you again. So I'm like to my mates, I think I'm wanted for another screen test, acting like I know what I'm talking about, but I've not got a clue. They're all like, no bother. So I went
using the lingo, you're like,
exactly. Pure trying to hit it with like, I think the casting director like what I done, you know. They're like, no bother, mate. And so I goes back, and mate, honestly, the lead part was the part of James, right? I got offered the main part, right, alongside Tommy Flanagan and Mandy Matthews, right? And I was, at that point, I was buzzing. Tommy Flanagan, who is now in Sons of Anarchy, etc., etc. He's in LA now. Tommy's a big deal, you know what I mean? But Mandy Matthews was as well, but she doesn't act. She's chucked it now. But I remember I was like getting into school the next day and I was like, I'm going to be the main guy. I've got the main part in this movie. No way. I'm like, aye, honestly. Mate,
Right.
I swear to God, the 11th hour, they changed their mind and went with William Eady instead, right? So I do not to this day know what happened, right? I do not know, right? But
Oh my God.
I remember one of the producers came out to the house to mum, because I was only 11 or 12 at the time. So they comes out to the house to talk to my mum and dad and they say, look, for the change of heart, William, well, it didn't say William's getting a part. It said Stevens we no longer want Stephen, but
Right.
we still, because of the situation, the circumstances where this has changed, we still want Stephen to be involved. Now, mate, in hindsight, I was devastated, right? I was gutted.
Of course.
But in hindsight, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me because I got 4 weeks off school, right, to go and do this movie. And mate, they built like bloody film sets just off Duke Street down near the old Tenants Brewery and stuff, mate. It was like a
Right.
proper, obviously nothing compared to like big budget, but it was like a proper film set. So every day I was there as William Standing. Now that sounds horrendous, right, to an actor these days. You get offered the main part, you get told you're not getting it, you're going to be the main part standing, right? But I'm a young 12-year-old or whatever.
Of
I'm like,
course.
I don't care. So I kind of went there every day and I just soaked it in. I think subconsciously I learned so much about the technical side of it, about hitting your mark, about knowing how camera operators work, about knowing this, that. So it turned out a great 4 weeks and it was a summer. I loved it, man. I had a great time. And through that, I met a guy called Stephen King, not the Stephen King, a different Stephen King who ran a theatre group called Toonspeak. And off the back of that, I joined the theatre group and then just kind of got into it a bit more. But
Wow.
after that, it was the same, mate, the exact same situation arose with Sweet 16. It was between me and Martin Compston for the main part of Liam. And I got down to the final two, and it was just me and Martin, just in a room with Ken Loach doing the audition.
Aye.
It was like 12 A's, there was 6 A's, there was 4 A's, 3 A's, then it was just down to me and Martin. And again, I was just unlucky, but I got a good, decent part in that. And I was there as well, and I worked on set, done a
That
couple of
was it.
scenes with Martin, and worked with Ken Loach. And then off the back of that is when it really got hard because I went to drama school, and you get to that point in your life where I'm going, right, I wasn't the most clever at school, didn't have great grades or anything, but I had a decent job, and my uncle worked in Cruise at the time. He worked in a
Right.
clothes shop in a town Cruise, so I worked there part-time. But when I went to college, I hated college. So my part-time job became a full-time job, and I kind of dropped out of college a week. Well,
Mhm.
didn't officially drop out, but that was the crossroads in my life where I thought, what am I going to do here? How can I
Right.
sustain being an actor? But just as I was working in Cruise and going to college every now and again, I got the audition for River City, and that was it.
Brilliant.
So
That's
I
a
was,
brilliant story. In terms of like, see when you're that age, especially in school, and then that like something amazing happens, you do tell everybody.
oh, mate, of
Like, you
course,
tell
of
your
course.
teachers, you
Aye,
tell like your pals' parents, like you
aye.
tell everybody,
And then
and
it's like,
then
aye, right, I told you, you're talking rubbish, wee man. You know what I mean? I was like, no, seriously. But you wouldn't believe that story. Do you know what I mean? Even when I tell it this day, I still can't believe what
aye,
actually happened because it was like, obviously, it's like they've obviously seen William after me, and there was no hard feelings with me and William. I still speak to William at this stage, you know what I
aye,
mean? But it's like, it was just one of the things, mate. I'm a great believer that everything happens for a reason, and it was
right,
meant to be. I wasn't meant to be the part of James. I wasn't meant to be the part of Liam. Martin Compston was, William Eady
yep.
was. I was meant to be the part that was coming after all this, which was Shell Suit Bob in River City. Do you know what I mean? Which it is what it is, man. So it's been a great, it's been good to me, and I've been consistently working in TV since I was 19, and I'm nearly 40 now.
Aye,
Do you know what I mean?
that's
So,
brilliant. So how
yeah.
was working with Ken Loach? That must have been a massive thing. I don't
Aye,
maybe so much at the time because you're thinking it's just this next big thing, but as you get older,
aye.
you start realizing how great of a filmmaker he is.
No, of course, mate. And it was like obviously like Kez and all that. I'd known things he'd done, and
Aye,
when it came to Sweet 16, I was a wee bit older. For when I'd done Ratcatcher, I was a wee bit more. I knew what was going on, and I knew what was at
aye,
stake during the audition process. But it was like a very, very. It was a. It was a very unique auditioning experience because I remember, especially when it got down to like I think me and Martin were in there at one point together, and the camera got turned on, and he just turned round and looked at the window and just went, right, on you go, and didn't watch any of it. He was just listening.
oh
And
really?
me and Mark were kind of, looking at each other as if like, do we start? Do we know? And we just done it. And then when it was done, he was like, right, thanks. He was a lovely man, but he was very, and he shot everything in story order. So it doesn't matter if say you're doing a scene exterior close, and you've got another 5 scenes that you can shoot exterior close. You're going for that location to that location. You're doing everything in story order. It was,
Wow.
and that's not the way I've ever worked, and I don't think I
No,
will. It's whatever, like wherever you're shooting. If there's X amount of scenes outside the close, you're shooting all them in one day. Do you know what I mean?
in
To
one
get it
day.
all done. But he was his own man. I think
Wow.
he's a bit of a genius. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, he's got his ways, and that's it, man. He knows how to get the best out of. Especially Martin at that point was very inexperienced, the same way I was, the same way a lot of people were. But look what it done for Martin's career. It was
I know.
phenomenal.
That's mad. I wonder if like Ken Loach found that kind of idea of getting like the real people. Do you know what I mean? And they were like, "This is now." Did they do that on purpose? Did they
I
go?
think so. I think if you look at a lot of stuff he's done over the years, he does do that. He does get a lot of actors in as well. But I
Both.
know for certain parts he'll go for a kind of inexperienced actor. I don't think Martin had ever done anything before that. I think he
Right.
was the same way I was when I done Ratcatcher. I think it was the first thing. I think it was the first thing he'd done, if I'm pretty sure. But it's just the way he does it, and I think it's like, I don't know. It's the old analogy, like a football manager knowing how to get the best out of their team. It's like, I think
Right.
Ken Loach knows how to get the best out of inexperienced actors. Because I remember we done the scene where Martin had to kind of break my nose, and he was like that. He's like, look, don't worry about the lines in the script. Just whatever you feel. If you want to ad lib, if you want to do this, just go for it. I think he wants
Yeah.
the kind of authentic feel to that story from those actors. Do you know what I mean? Who weren't actors. He just wants to get what they think is going to come out, and
Aye. Get the freedom of it.
give you the freedom to go with it, mate. So
Aye.
it was, mate. It was a great time. It was such a great experience, and again, looking back at these things at that point, I've never got any regrets in life. I just look back and go, I was always looking to get the main part and thinking I wasn't good enough. But I wish sometimes if I look back on my younger self, just went, I wish you enjoyed it a bit more and didn't
Exactly.
go too hard on yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because now I'm older and I'm more relaxed about life, and you can just go, right, it was what it was. And I just go, I wish I'd really enjoyed it more. But
Aye.
it was fantastic experience, man, fantastic. And I remember even years ago, I watched the. This is how showing my age now. I watched the DVD. Sweet 16 years ago, right? A DVD. Remember them, mate? So
DVDs are still a thing.
I remember you used to get you'd get a bonus feature DVD.
Yeah.
So I put it in because it had the Ken Loach commentary throughout
Oh, aye.
the movie, and I just wanted to listen to how he spoke about different shots and whatever. And he actually mentioned me when it came
Nice.
up and says I was the second in line to play the part of Liam, and I remember sitting going, "That's great that he's even acknowledged that." Do you know what I mean? So
He's remembered and stuff.
aye, exactly. So it was one of the best experiences of my life, man. It was class.
That's amazing. That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. What about when you were wee and when you were watching movies? Do you remember the first time you went to the cinema, or do you have like a memory of like your first favourite movie?
I remember, I think it was either Back to the Future Part 2 or Back to the Future Part 3. I'm not 100% sure. I remember my dad taking me, and because
This is the cinema.
I was
Oh, amazing.
obsessed with Michael J. Fox, man, when I was younger, like when I was a wee boy. I wanted to be him, and I remember the skate and the first Back to the Future definitely wasn't that because I was too young for that. I remember it was the hoverboards. I think it
Oh,
was maybe
aye.
the country. It was 2 or 3. I know 2 is the kind of hoverboards and all that, and 3 was like the country and western, like the Godfather 3. We don't really talk about it, man. Right, it wasn't that great, like the
Okay,
first
aye.
2. But no, I remember. I think I was only like 7 or 8 or something. I remember begging my dad, and I remember him saying, I think it was a PG or something. He wasn't sure, but he took me, and I remember just going. I just loved Michael J. Fox, and I remember just thinking these films are like amazing. I used to watch 1 and 2 all the time when I was a
Yeah,
kid, and I think my first time to the cinema was Back to the Future Part 2.
that's a belter to see in the cinema.
Aye,
I saw the first one in the cinema, like, and it's like a reissue sort of thing.
aye.
And it was in that weird summer of 2020 where like
Mm-hmm.
things were kind of opening, but no
Aye,
really
aye,
and stuff.
aye,
So
aye.
cinemas were open, so they were trying to get like they put on classic films to get people back in the door.
Of course. They done that. The
And
Godfather and all that, sure, as well.
Godfather, Jaws, Star Wars, things like that. I wish I'd seen Star Wars. That would have been amazing. It's May the 4th, isn't it? So it is. We're
Yeah,
recording
May
this on the 4th of May.
May the 4th be with you, mate.
May the 4th be with you. I mean, this isn't going out to Monday, but people are going to be like, oh, what's that? We're actually live. I saw the Back to the Future 1 at the cinema in the summer of 2020. And I also saw another film that day. Oh, I saw it was Tenet. I saw that day as well.
Oh, I've
I
still
don't know
not
if you
seen
saw
that.
Tenet.
I've not seen that. I've still not seen it.
I mean, it's really good and it's really well made, but it was one of those ones where it's like a bit confusing and you kind of need to watch it a couple of times.
I've heard a few people saying they enjoyed it, but they still have not got a clue what it's about.
No got a clue. No got a clue.
Whereas
Somebody
you know
can
where you stand
tell
with Back to the Future, mate. You know where you stand with it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I had a preference that day of what I watched. It was very well made and stuff, and the whole like backwards stuff was like reversing the time. And I'm sure it was a good laugh to film, but it was a bit confusing. I don't think I'll watch it again. Right enough.
No,
it's a bit long.
I don't think it's my bag either, mate. I'm not going to. I mean, if I'm watching a movie like that and I'm going like halfway through it, going, "What's this all about?" I could be sitting going, I could be watching The Godfather or something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just really absolutely. I'll watch things over and over again, man. Like,
I love that.
I've watched The Sopranos at least 15 times. Honestly, like I've just
full series. Full series.
Oh, mate, I just go off in one and that's it. Honestly, it's like I don't sleep great sometimes, man. So I'll just like stay up when the kids and my wife are in bed and I'll just batter through episode after episode. Even though I can sit and say what they're going to say next, I always find some. I know that sounds like a total arty.
No, not at all.
Sure, are we allowed to swear? Don't want to swear, do we?
No, of course.
Arty, wanky actor thing to say, like when you go, I seen something new again that I didn't see before, but I do, man. I watch it and go, wow, I get what's happening here, but I don't know what it is. I just love watching. I think you can imagine a genre of movies on me. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I go with Sopranos.
What other films can you watch like that? If it's like on the telly, it doesn't matter which point.
I'll tell you one that absolutely, when I was younger, totally, which was close to getting picked as my favourite today. Pulp Fiction. I remember Pulp Fiction and True Romance, right? Both those movies when I was younger. So I remember being totally very, very curious about True Romance because I think it was the first script that Quentin Tarantino ever got commissioned, and he wrote the script, but he didn't direct it. I'm pretty sure it was God, that's terrible. It's fell out of my head now who directed it, but it wasn't Quentin Tarantino. That's terrible. I should know this. That's so bad. But Quentin Tarantino didn't direct it, but he wrote the screenplay for it, I'm pretty sure.
Tony Scott,
it was. Of course it was. Aye. But both those movies, I think when I watched them, right, there's a scene in True Romance where Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken are talking, and it's just before... Have you seen... I'm going to ruin it for you if you've not seen it.
I've not seen it, but go for it.
I don't want to ruin it then, right? It's just that scene, right? You should watch that movie, mate. It's a great movie, and there's just something that you know what's going to happen in that scene. But both they two together, honestly phenomenal. But then when I seen Pulp Fiction, it kind of the similarities also because Quentin Tarantino directed it and Quentin Tarantino wrote True Romance. But then obviously written and directed Pulp Fiction, and just remember going, you don't need a lot of things to happen in a movie. See if the dialogue is good. See if it's it's on the page properly. Like I remember hanging on every word Samuel Jackson and John Travolta saying to each other, man, and like going, this is, in the way it was all kind of the stories all out of sync, and then it all kind of comes back in, and how stylish it looks. And when would you ever think a guy in a restaurant getting up and dancing is cool as fuck? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? When people are sitting having their dinner, and I remember going, wow, man, this is the same guy who was in Grease and Saturday Night Fever. He's that man. Do you know what I mean? Like watching it, going, this is phenomenal. But
it's becoming a thing with every John Travolta film. He has to do a dance scene.
But just watching that, going, Quentin Tarantino was just like, obviously, he's not my favourite director, right? Martin Scorsese is my favourite director, but I remember Pulp Fiction had such an effect on me when I was younger, going, this movie, man, is like, wow, this is like, it's just the dialogue is razor sharp. You're going from shot to shot. There's hard cuts here, going to there. There's a boot shop, and they open the boot, and they're looking up. The whole speech about fucking Quentin Tarantino buying coffee. I'm going, he's actually saying, it's a monologue about coffee. I'm going, it's amazing. Like, it was I don't think that ever. I mean, obviously, Reservoir Dogs was before it,
Yep.
but I think he just went up a level with Pulp Fiction.
And he never came to that again. You don't think?
Eh, I really liked Kill Bill.
I
I
think
did. I
Kill Bill
liked
was great.
Kill
I
Bill.
love the fact that it was like so epic they had to split it into two.
Of course,
But
mate.
I always wonder how, like, if they just kept it as one, how would that have gone down? Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's a movie I watch quite a lot as well, right? It's called Once Upon a Time in America, and I think Kill Bill would have been maybe even beating that for length of time. Do you know what I mean? Because it was, I think the two Kill Bills combined, what would that come to, like over 4 hours probably?
4 hours probably. Aye.
So, I mean, I think Kill Bill again was like some of the scenes with like Uma Thurman and Michael Madsen. I mean, Uma Thurman's just, she's phenomenal.
Stunning.
Oh,
So good,
she's
man.
you can tell she's just so committed to the part. It's phenomenal. Same in Pulp Fiction, she's phenomenal as well. But aye,
Yep.
it's just, mate, those kind of movies when I was younger, it was like, I was a bit of a geek when I was younger. Like, I think my first job was in a corner shop around the corner for where I lived. And
Mhm.
as soon as I get paid, I would jump it, I'd get a bus into town, I'd go to Avalanche Records, buy like Pink Floyd and the Doors albums, Beatles albums, and then go up to HMV and buy like DVDs like Pulp
Yep.
Fiction, True Romance, Godfather box sets, all that kind of stuff. So that was me, and I've probably not really changed that much, mate. I'm still the same.
You're going to be in the house a wee while now because you'll get mumps, so you may need to go and buy some
Exactly, man.
DVDs.
I know, a silver lining, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'll just,
Exactly.
aye, exactly.
It's funny you say that about in terms of the dialogue. It doesn't, really. You don't really need to have a lot of stuff happening in the film as long as the dialogue's sharp and stuff. You can totally get invested. I thought that about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, his most recent film.
Oh, mate, it
And
was
a
so
lot of
good.
people were giving it slack because it's like, well, nothing really happens. And
Mate,
I
I
was like,
loved
and
it.
that's the point. I loved it because it's like that one moment where you're just watching everything happen in front of you. You know what I
Mate,
mean?
how electric was Brad Pitt in that movie?
Mate, I forget how good Brad Pitt is sometimes because when
Oh,
someone gets like a big name like that, you
mm-hmm.
go, all right, well, it's Brad Pitt, whatever, he's in these big
He's
films.
brilliant,
But
man.
then you
He's
forget
brilliant.
how great of an actor he is.
Aye, it's like the same in Inglourious Bastards. He's
Oh,
phenomenal.
he's so good when he's trying to put on the accent. He's like,
Oh, mate,
Buongiorno.
he's so charismatic, but I think he is very underrated as an actor. Is that
Agreed.
right to say Brad Pitt's underrated? I
I
think
think so.
he is like an absolute A-lister, right? Hollywood icon. But I think when you talk about great actors, like I think you like De Niro, Pacino, DiCaprio.
Yep.
But I don't think Pitt gets mentioned enough, man.
No.
I think he's like, even in, he has a cameo basically in True Romance. He plays the character
Mhm.
of Floyd, and he's an absolute stoner, and you cannot take your eyes off him, man. Do you know what I mean? And even
Aye.
his bit in Thelma and Louise as well. He's hilarious.
Aye. 100%.
He's such a great actor. But mate, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, anybody that slags that film, I'll argue with them. Honestly, like
Aye.
I would debate it because I think if you're slagging the movie and saying not enough happens, you've just missed it. You've missed it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's just such a great movie, man.
I missed the point. Pulp
Mm-hmm.
Fiction is I think the most rewatchable film you can get because it's out of sync. You know what I mean? That
Aye,
adds to it, but
aye.
obviously there's the great acting and writing and stuff like that as well. But I think you need to watch it so many times to fully appreciate it, like
Yeah,
the kind
of
of
course.
art that it is. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, of
Again, it does
course.
sound wanky, but
Aye,
I
but
d-
no, I do. I get that. I think Reservoir Dogs is the same as well. I think
yeah,
when you
yeah,
watch that, just sitting round talking about Madonna song, like a
aye,
virgin, and the way they talk about that, what their take on that is, and how why my Mr. Pink, all that kind of like all that
aye.
stuff they're talking about. And Tim Roth is electric in that as well, man. He's brilliant, great in Pulp Fiction also, but
He's a
he's
brilliant actor
more.
as well, man. He gets
Oh
underrated as
mate,
well.
oh he's classy, but he's especially in Reservoir Dogs, like when he's trying to learn all the lingo in his room. That scene where it's like us actors trying to sit and learn a monologue. Do you know what I mean? He's learning it all and learning it all, and it's mate, it's these movies that mate, they'll stand the test of time. People will be watching them and me and you on here.
That's true. That is
You
true.
know what
Aye. Um, It's funny when people ask you who your favourite director is, and like you can't. The immediate names that come to mind are things like Tarantino and Scorsese
I
and things like that.
mean? Aye,
But then you think they're the easy answers. But when you think about it, there's so many. They've done so much good stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's
aye,
like
mate.
every
Think that
film.
it's like I look at Scorsese talking about people that kind of slagged Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Obviously, that was Tarantino. I think a lot of people had the same kind of views with Scorsese's one, The Irishman. When I
Oh yeah,
go, well, it's kind of like it's just kind of. I think when you watch it as a movie, as a piece of work, you go, it's just an absolute master of the craft, man. It's like you're watching it. The actors are on point. Pacino, De Niro, Joe Pesci, Stephen Graham. You're watching it,
Stephen
and
Graham's class, man.
Mate, you're watching it, and even like different shots are going. The camera's not just moving because they can move it. It's moving for a reason, man. It's like the director's seen this. It's like anybody that sits and goes, "Oh, nah," you're like, I feel like just going, what are you talking about?
I know. Well, what do you want then? Do you know what I mean? And I think
exactly.
the Irishman was made for folk who love The Godfather,
Aye.
Goodfellas, that style of film.
Aye,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
So then it's a love letter to all that stuff, and the fact they've got De Niro and Pesci in it. Do you know what I mean?
Aye,
Like,
exactly. And then to talk, I think the story, but the backstory to it is, I think De Niro and Scorsese had to really, really convince Joe Pesci. I think he'd basically come out of retirement to do it.
aye,
Do you know what I mean? And
he was done, wasn't
brilliant.
he?
Aye, he was brilliant in it though, man. He was great.
Aye. Joe
I think
Pesci was
Stephen
done
Graham was
robbing kids'
amazing as
houses
well.
and stuff.
Sorry.
I said Joe Pesci was done robbing kids' houses and stuff, and then he came back to
Exactly, man. Exactly. Brilliant.
Right. Well, when I got in contact with you, I asked you to pick a favourite film, and as you say, it's like the hardest question ever.
Aye.
What's your favourite movie? Depends on the day of the week. Depends what you're in the mood for. What have you watched recently? Things like that. And you selected Goodfellas, and I think that's a great choice. Obviously, you were mentioning before we started recording, you were speaking to Jonathan Watson, who was on a few weeks ago. He picked The Godfather, so he kind of stole your thunder a wee bit. Aye. Why did you pick Goodfellas? Why is it considered one of your favourite movies?
Again, mate, it's kind of it probably had an even bigger effect on me than what I was saying a couple of minutes ago there about Pulp Fiction. Like Goodfellas, I literally remember the first night I seen half of it. Right, I was a wee guy. It was one of the horrible Sunday nights where you've got school the next day.
School
right?
the next.
And I'm not sure what age you are, mate. You don't need to divulge that information, but I've got a feeling I'm probably a bit older than you, right? So I remember back in the day, I don't know if you remember, like, if you had Sky TV in your house, you only had one box, right?
Yeah,
But you could,
I'm not that young. Aye.
and you could connect whatever somebody was watching downstairs, you could connect it to a channel upstairs. So I remember I couldn't sleep, and I thought, I'm not going to sleep, man, I can't. And that dreaded Sunday night feeling, man. So I turned my telly on, and I turned it to the Sky channel, whatever my dad would have been watching down the stair.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember it was kind of the second half of Goodfellas, the dark side, man, where the drugs are taking hold of Henry Hill, and he's going and doing the deals with the Pittsburgh guy, and he's seeing the helicopter, he's getting paranoid. And I remember going, what is this, man? I was like, this is fun. And I remember, like, the Rolling Stones are playing, and I was like, this is something else, man. What? And it just gripped me, mate. It just got me. And I remember, I think the next day I told my dad, I sat and watched it, and he's like, you didn't watch that? I think I was only 13, 14 at the time, and he's like, I was like, what was that? And he told me, and I just, ever since that, mate, I probably have watched that movie, mate, I've lost count how many times I've watched it, but I think through that, I got into, like, Raging Bull was another one that nearly made it into this as well. That was between they two, The Godfather, Raging Bull, Casino as well. But Goodfellas for me has always got a special place, man. I think it's just, as much as it's not a good thing, it gives you obviously the two parts, man. It glamorises what that lifestyle could be like, do you know what I mean? But then it doesn't shy away from the kind of literally cutthroat business that you're involved in, and it gives you the two sides of it, do you know what I mean? But the first side of it, seeing the young Henry Hill, and I remember when I got to fifth year, the only grade I got in school, right, was English. I was no bad at English, right? And again, showing my age, right, we had to do a thing called an RPR. I don't know if you know what that is, mate, right? RPR.
I think so.
It was like you had to write an essay, basically, based on a book.
Oh, yeah, yes, okay.
So I remember going, what am I going to do? So I thought, you know what? Looking through the credits, Goodfellas, true story, based on a book by Nicholas Pileggi called Wise Guy. So I done it on Wise Guy. And I remember I was working at the time as well in the wee shop in the corner, and my English teacher actually phoned my house and says, you need to come in and finish this. Because I was kind of thinking that I'm just leaving school. And he's like, it's good. He's like, come in. And I went in, and he's like, look, this is good. And he was the same as me. He loved the movie Goodfellas. And he's like, this is really good, man. And I remember just watching the movie again, reading the book, and just becoming totally obsessed with the life this guy Henry Hill had. And just, I was always obsessed with Robert De Niro, right? But with him in it as well, and Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci and Scorsese, and it just made it totally blew my mind, this movie. And it kind of, obviously now I'm older and I've seen it a million times, but it still just gets me. It's one of the movies, if it's on the telly, like Johnny was saying about The Godfather, you turn it on, I'll watch it up until the bit, God, Friday nights for the wife, Saturday nights for the girlfriends, I'll watch it to that bit when Tony Bennett's playing the song and all that, and it's like, but I'll watch it to the end, do you know what I mean? But it's just, it's got a special place personally for me, do you know what I mean? It's just, and it made, I think, subconsciously, I remember watching it going, when I kind of left school and I was kind of that wee hiatus between going to college and working, and before I started River City, going, that's what I want to do, man. I want to do what they guys are doing on the screen.
When you see a big film like that, you kind of forget that's their job. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. You know what I mean? Like being on that set and being in that high profile situation.
And the use of like, even, it's probably the first movie I've ever seen where, as I said earlier on, I'm quite into my music as well. Like, at that point in time, when I was that young, I don't think I'd ever seen a movie that's using Gimme Shelter with the Rolling Stones. Do you know what I mean? The Rolling Stones soundtrack. You've got the Sex Pistols saying God Save the Queen at the end, and you've got Tony Bennett. So what other movies get like Tony Bennett singing songs? You've got the soundtracks, Tony Bennett, Rolling Stones, Sex Pistols. You're like Eric Clapton, like Sunshine, that famous scene where De Niro doesn't even have to do anything, but he's just smoking a fag. And Keane start playing Sunshine of Your Love, and he's looking at Maury, and he knows he's going to whack Maury, but he's just having the fag looking at Maury. And that, I don't know, when I was a young boy, before every audition, for some reason I go, I'm watching that scene because that's going to get me pumped up. Do you know what I mean? And it didn't get me pumped up that much because I didn't get any of the jokes. But I'm going, that would just be so inspirational. I mean, just watching De Niro, he's just looking at him and he's not listening to what the guy's saying to him. He's too busy looking at Maury. And Henry thinks he's talked Maury to stop busting Jimmy's balls. And then he just looks at him, and then when Sunshine of Your Love, that guitar riff starts with Clapton, and he starts smoking the fag. I'm like, that's cinema for me, man. That's what gets me going, stuff like that, mate. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. It'd be funny if you ever went into an audition when you were wee though, and they were like, right, sit there, we're going to put on this song, here's a fag. You're like, yes, man. Prepped for
it. With my track record, I'd still fuck it up.
I love what I love about Goodfellas is the fact that it's like you see a snapshot of that kind of lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? That kind of period of time. I know it goes over 10 odd years or whatever it is. 20 years? 20 years?
It must go for between 20 and 30 years because he's just a young kid.
It starts off in 1960, right? And then he gets out around 1980, I think.
Something like that, man. So it's kind of goes over right. Two decades, two or three decades, definitely, man.
It kind of goes back to like what we were saying about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just kind of watching the time pass. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, of course, mate. Of course, because I remember, excuse me, watching like even the scenes at the start when you're seeing he's this wee impressionable guy and he's doing these skivvy jobs here and there, and then like when he's staying up late at night watching them sitting playing cards and all that. I mean, it romanticizes the whole image of that world. Do you know what I mean? But then, like I say, the more he gets sucked into that, and you see the way Scorsese puts that on screen, that this world is horrible. Do you know what I mean? Like you see it, the second half of it, when even Jimmy has turned his back on Henry and Carl, and he wants the two of them whacked, and you're going, that's a guy that he spent nearly 30 years of his life with. Do you know what I mean? And he's kind of mentored him coming up, him and Tommy. Do you know what I mean? And you go, now he's going to just kill you to drop a hat. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible world.
You feel the kind of danger. See when he does rat them out at the end, when Henry rats them out and you see De Niro's face. You feel the danger.
Of course, man. Of course. And I mean, you've seen it. That kind of story's been told a million times on screen now. I mean, you look at movies like Donnie Brasco as well. Look back at that with Johnny Depp and Al Pacino. Do you know what I mean? So you see that as well, where Johnny Depp's kind of undercover cop and he betrays Lefty. Do you know what I mean? Played by Al Pacino. You see all that stuff. I mean, it's been done a million times, but I just don't think anybody can do it as good as Scorsese.
No, all De Niro with his mad face.
De Niro's just the best. He's the creme de la creme for me. Do you know what I mean? I've watched nearly every movie he's been in, man. Like always one, like Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino. I mean, I've Once Upon a Time in America. I've watched all them a million times, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. First time I watched Goodfellas, I was in high school. And me and my mates used to do this thing. We were kind of no geeks, but we weren't really into going out and all that stuff, right? We much preferred to just a night in. We liked wrestling and football and stuff. We just do that. So we used to do these things where we just like stay up all night and watch movies. Obviously, as a lot of people do. And we said, okay, what we're going to do? I could have done YouTube for all my life as well in terms of doing videos and reviews and stuff like that online. We're going to do like a kind of vlog style video. We're going to stay up all night, 24 hours. We're going to watch movies the whole time. We'll document what we're watching and stuff like that. Right, I didn't actually follow through properly, but that was kind of my goal at the time. And one of the movies that we watched at like 3 a.m, like we started it at 3 a.m, was Goodfellas, and I fell asleep. And it's no because the movie. Like I was thinking,
3 a.m. is hard going, mate, isn't it?
3 a.m, right? But I know, but it was in school. Do you know what I mean? I should have been able to nail that. Do you know what I mean? Don't know what happened. Maybe it was a busy day at school. But so we ended up watching Goodfellas, and I must have been like a wee half an hour power nap or something, because I woke back up and it was the moment where Henry's hitting that guy in the face with a gun.
Oh man, that scene is like, I mean, I'm not trying to like big up violence, right? But that scene
Right.
is like that scene. It's the shot as well when he picks Karen up and he gets to the drive and he tells Karen to go inside, and see just that scene where Henry's looking in the mirror and he sees the guys, to when he picks a gun up, puts it in. But the backstory to that was, I'm pretty sure really his mum had died that week.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure it was his mum that had just passed away during the filming of Goodfellas, and he just used all that for that scene, because when you see his face when he gets out the car and he's walking across, the anger and the pent up, like he's ready to go, that face, you look at him and you go, wow man, he is. But I'm pretty sure his mum or some family member or something had passed away just before, a day or two before they shot that scene, and he just used it, he says, and it's the way the boys stand there going, what are you going to do, fuck all? And he just cracks them, and you're like, another guy, don't shoot. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's that. And then when he goes back and he gives the gun to Karen,
the blood on his hand.
And the blood, and then Scorsese kind of does it in slow motion, that look, Karen, and she goes, a lot of girls, friends of mine, would I get out the minute her boyfriend handed her a gun, but she says, I've got to admit I'm a little turned on. Do you know what I mean? She was fully invested in all that as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's her sucked into that world just there and then. That's it. Do you know what I mean?
I thought it was amazing how they managed to get, like, obviously it's special effects and stuff like that, but like the way that the blood just comes out straight away and it breaks his nose right there in front of you. You're like, there's nothing going on there. Do you know what I mean? That's like just good filmmaking.
It's a great scene.
Aye.
Because the tension of that scene's already built up, like maybe 5-10 minutes before that, when they're at the wee club. Remember before it, and the neighbour comes over to Karen and says, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
And kind of imposes himself on her a wee bit there.
Aye.
And
you know something bad's going to happen.
It's almost as if Henry's not there. This guy's trying to act for the big man, and Henry knows it. He clocks it right away with him. Do you know what I mean? As if, do you know that guy? So it's already there. So I think when he finds out it's him that's done that to Karen, he's like, I am absolutely going to empty this guy. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. Because I seen that, I woke up in the middle of that scene, and I was like, what is that? And because I didn't really pay much attention to the rest of the film and stuff, I definitely went back the next day and rewatched the whole film, and that's when I was like, this is amazing. Like, it was a proper, like, great production. Do you know what I mean?
It's a great film.
I wonder if you were to show someone it now as well, like, after all the great kind of gangster movies, the great movies like that genre, even The Irishman and stuff, people are going to look at as if it's like their kind of Godfather and their Goodfellas. Do you think if it could still hold up this? I mean, I think so.
I think it definitely. You know what my answer's going to be to that, mate. I'm going to 100% yes. I would say for a lot of maybe a different generation, I think the film they go to for the gangster genre now is maybe The Departed. Again, it's Scorsese. I think that's maybe his modern day Goodfellas a wee bit. I would say the Departed is such a good movie, man. It's so good and it's so well shot. And I would say a lot of them, like my wee brother, there's a big age gap between me and my wee brother. He's only 20 and I'm 39 next week. So there's a big age gap. So he always goes on about The Departed. and I can understand that. Do you know what I mean? But I'm always like, Goodfellas for me was like, I mean, I think you could go through Scorsese's. He's done so many that kind of like Mean Streets as well was another one that was very, very good.
Not seen it.
It's very good, man. That's like one of De
Aye.
Niro's really early ones because it's like 73 or something, 74.
Right.
But no, Departed maybe comes close for a lot of people, but for me, it's always going to be Goodfellas.
Aye. See that second half of the film, as you say, it does completely shift because you think you're watching a kind of fun, kind of gangster film with a lot of like one-liners, and I mean, you could listen to Joe Pesci ranting all day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, his performance in that is just different
So good,
class.
man.
Different class. Like that, the scene where he's made his mind up, he's going to take Billy Bats out. I mean, that's like, you've got, is it Donovan playing Atlantis, that song's playing at the end of the night, and they're in the bar, and they've took they've took Tommy out, told him to go because he's been told, go and get a fucking shine box and all that, and he's like, and they get him out, but it's already made up, I'm taking him out, and Joe Pesci in that scene, man, when he comes in, you can see the rage, and he pulls the knife out, and it's horrible, but it's so well shot, and every actor in that movie is just on point. You can tell. I think you can tell the movie when you see the performances. De Niro, Liotta, Lorraine Bracco, Paul Sorvino, Joe Pesci, Frank Vincent, who played Billy Bats. Every one of them, you can just tell. I think at that point when they're making this movie, they know this is gold. Do you know what I mean? I think they know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just the script is that good, the director's that good, the performances, everything. And Joe Pesci, I think he won an Oscar for that movie, I'm pretty sure.
He did, yes, that's what I say. He won Best Supporting Actor, and the film was up for Best Picture and Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay, but it won Best Adapted Screenplay, but did not win Best Picture and Best Director. I wrote it down.
What beat it?
Dances with Wolves beat it along, and in that category as well that year was Ghost, Awakenings, and The Godfather Part 3 was up for Best Picture.
Godfather Part 3, we don't talk about that, mate. We don't talk about that.
It's like Fight Club. And best director, Kevin Costner won that one for Dances with Wolves, but he was up for it, and so was Francis Ford Coppola for Godfather 3.
It's a very, very strong category that year, because, I mean, Dances with Wolves is a great movie as well. I mean,
Ghost is good as well, isn't it?
Ghost, man, oh man, it's pure nostalgic. My auntie used to watch that. That's one of my wife's favourite films as well. She loves Ghost. She loves it.
Isn't it funny when you're watching, well, as you say about, you just look as if like the actors are all like having a good time, you know, that's like going to be easier for you to watch the rest of the film, do you know what I mean, because they just all look pure invested. But I like when a moment in the film happens and you like, the penny drops, and there's two moments in this film. There's one where Joe Pesci's going to get made, and he walks into the room and there's nobody in there, empty table, and you know what's about to happen, and so does he, because he kind of makes this noise before he gets shot, doesn't he? Like, what's that? And then he gets shot. That's class. And then the other one is when after everything's happened in jail and all that stuff, and Henry comes back and Karen says he's looking for all the stash of stuff, and Karen's like, "Oh, I flushed it in the toilet," and he's like, "That's all I had."
That scene's absolutely heartbreaking. It's like you can almost smell the desperation in Henry's voice, where he's like, he's slapping the wall and he's greeting and she's greeting, and it's like, I flushed it, and he's like, Karen, that's all we had. And you know at that point, man, he's like, he knows everything's done here. Do you know what I mean? And the scene with Joe Pesci, I mean, it's like the build up to it gets you, man. It's like when he's got his suit on and he's saying cheerio to his mum, who's played by Martin Scorsese's mum. That's Martin Scorsese's mum. And she's saying, like, "Oh, you look great," and all that. And he's like, "No more religious paintings, please," and all that. And he's walking out and he's buzzing, and you see it. But then that's that movie in a nutshell. See that wee segment? That's that movie. It makes it look so glamorous, and then boom, it just hits you with a sledgehammer, and you go, "This world is terrifying." And then that other scene you talk about with Lorraine Bracco and Ray Liotta when she's flushed the stuff, man, it's heart-wrenching. It's horrible. It's really horrible to watch. It's a bit uncomfortable to watch at times as well.
See the scene where he wakes up and she's on top of him with a gun? That's a really uncomfortable scene, man. That's a really, because you don't know whether like it's a really good scene or you're actually feeling like, oh my god, I shouldn't even be watching this.
I know. It's like, do you love her? And he's like, do you love her? And it's like, and he's just like Karen, and even that as well. I think Is that the scene where you see, not when you see the wee girl? Is the scene where he's going out to the card game and
Right,
Lorraine, Karen saying, "No, not without your car keys, you're not," and she throws the car keys out the window. And he's
right.
like, "Karen, I'm still going to go out." Then they have this big debate, and he walks out, and then the camera just goes to their daughter. And you're like, it's horrible, man. It's horrible.
Aye,
But stunning piece of work, man. It's
aye,
stunning.
absolutely. Did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
Oh, mate, I did. Loved it.
Aye.
Loved it. Loved
Uh,
it. Aye.
you remember the scene where he comes back and he's looking for all the money underneath the floor,
I
and
do. Aye.
Skylar's like, "Oh, I gave it to Ted," and
Yeah.
and Walter White freaks
Aye.
out under the thing.
Yep.
Do you think he
Yep.
took that for Goodfellas?
Mate, now that you say it, I'm immediately thinking yes.
That's what I thought.
I definitely, man, definitely, because it's a bit of a mirror image, the whole scene, really, isn't it?
Aye, because he comes back and then he's searching for it,
Aye,
and she
aye,
tells him
definitely.
that it's gone when he's still looking for it, and
Yeah,
it's the penny
yeah.
dropping moment. Like, it's
I,
brilliant.
I, I can imagine. I mean, like, obviously, Scorsese's probably took things for lots of people as well. I think that's just the way the
Aye,
world in
nothing
it.
wrong with
Like,
that. Aye,
if you're if I'm doing something, you're doing something, the first thing you tap into is what do I love, what do I like,
right.
do you know what I mean? So that's what you're going to take for things that you think are great in you.
Aye, such a good film, and I'm buzzing to kind of watch it again. And as you say, the more times you watch it, you're going to get more things from it. So, thanks for picking Goodfellas in this one. This is the Good Bit podcast. We talk about all the good bits of the films, but do you think, the best bit of Goodfellas?
The best bit of Goodfellas for me,
What's your favourite
uh,
bit?
my favourite bit is probably. I feel bad saying it though because a guy gets murdered, man. I just think
No,
the
in real
whole.
life.
I know. I think the scene as a
Right.
whole. I mean, obviously, I absolutely love the scene, which is famous for being like one of the longest shots ever, where he
Mm.
picks Lorraine up and they get to the club and they
Aye,
go
for
in
the
the back
date.
row, they skip the queue, they go down, he brings a table, and then what do you call him, up singing the song, and all that's beautiful. But then, mate, it's a hard one, mate. I love the
I know.
scene,
I'm
as I
sorry.
said, with De Niro as well, where he's smoking the fag and sunshine. But I think as a scene, it's got to be Billy Bat's demise. It's got to be where he's kind of giving Joe Pesci. He's giving him it tight. He's breaking his balls, as they call it,
Yeah,
breaking his
yeah, yeah.
balls. Go and get a fucking shine box and all that. This guy make your shoes look like mirrors, and he's out with the girl, Joe Pesci. He feels embarrassed, but then they come to the tail end of the night, and obviously it's Henry's place. But De Niro knows when Pesci comes in, because Pesci comes in at the back of Billy Bat's, and he turns around and Billy Bat's is steaming by that point, and then they murder him, but it's a
Aye.
made guy. I think it's such a turning point in the movie
Mm.
because I think obviously the code in that world, obviously you can't take out a made guy without having permission, and Tommy didn't have permission. Do you know what I mean? So to do that is such a big thing, and then just that line for Joe Pesci at the end of it all, and he turns around to Henry and he just says, "I didn't want to get blood on your floor." And you're like, that's the psychology of these guys. That's
Aye.
the mentality. Like, you've just absolutely like brutally murdered a guy to death, and the first thing you say to your mate, "I didn't want to get blood on your floor." Do you know what I
Aye.
mean? It's like, but no, it's the way it's shot. I mean, it's just the cinematography as well. It's on point, mate.
Aye. It's a belter.
Mm-hmm.
What have you got coming up? You get any work you can tell us about?
Mate, we don't start back filming River City until the 27th of June. So my morning has been very, very hectic before I came on here. I had a self-tape to do this morning
All right.
with my swollen face. So I had to do that. So no, I've got a couple of wee irons in the fire that I'm waiting to hear back from.
Good.
Just recently got a new agent in January. So he's been keeping me busy, just auditioning again, just kind of, because obviously, like I say, mate, I've been doing River City for that long.
Of course.
Not that I would ever think about leaving River City, because it's a great job and I love working there, but you've always got wee itches you want to scratch, basically. Do you know what I mean? You want
100%.
to always
100%.
test yourself and other things. So this new agent has been getting me quite a few auditions. So I had one this morning, done a self-tape, sent it away, and we'll just see what comes of that, mate. And I'm kind of writing sitcom now as well that I'm trying to get off the ground, so we'll see how that goes. So I've just finished the third draft of the pilot episode of that, so that's been kind of keeping me busy also, so we'll see what happens with that, mate. So
you get Panto as well?
Get Panto coming up, that'll start, so River City will start 27th of June, we'll be filming that right through until the end of October, then I'll have a couple of weeks off, and then Panto rehearsals will start around about the 11th of November or something. So once June kicks in, it'll be a busy time, mate, but at the moment, just try to keep things ticking over, doing the odd self-tape here and there, and doing a wee bit of writing, and playing a wee bit of PlayStation 5, watching movies.
Keeping busy. That sounds brilliant.
Looking after my kids.
Isn't it funny how nowadays it's like, I can't tell you the last time I had an actual audition. It's all tapes. It's all self-tapes. It's like an art of getting it done. Do you know what I mean?
It's really hard going, man. It's I struggle with it, I think, because I'll go over, if my agent will send me the sides through, and I'll go over it, and then it just doesn't feel real because my wife's reading the other part.
That's what I mean. You can't get into it.
Like, business at all. She's a human resources manager for the NHS, so she's saying the lines. And
she's known this industry. She's a human being.
She's a normal person. So she's kind of, and I feel so sorry for her. I'm like, babe, can you do this, please? Can you just read this now? I know you've got work today, but it's like when you get a self-tape through, it's like the whole world has to stop. We need to get this done. It's like, I've kind of calmed down with that a wee bit now. I'm a bit more relaxed about it because I'm like, right, we'll do it in a couple of days. I'll go over it. So I had one a couple of weeks ago, and it was for some Netflix show, right? And it was like English accent. 3 pages of dialogue, and it was really brutal, man. But my agent phoned me back. Needless to say, I didn't get the part, but my agent came back and said he really liked it, and I'm like, right, okay, chatting. But just doing a 3-page scene in an English accent with your wife in the house, telling your wains to be quiet in another room is mental.
Well, I don't know why self-tapes need to be 3 pages. Like, and in a lot of the time, when there's no use speaking, you just need to kind of sit there and like react. But honestly,
mate, that's the one I done this morning. I only one line, and the last 3 lines on the page are the other characters, and I'm like, try to get across what you're all about with like. It was like, what was it? It was like 5 lines, but it's just at the start of the scene, and then that's me done. And then the other, and I'm like, well, I think it's just if your face fits.
Exactly. I always overthink it. I'm worried about, I'm looking too tall here, the lighting's no right, whatever. They just need to see you, don't they, for a bit, a few seconds they can make that decision. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. I think that's what I've became a bit more relaxed about it this year, especially going, look, there's no point getting overthinking it. Just make sure you can see you, you've got a plain background and just shoot it, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? There's no point. Because last few years, I get an audition, man, it'd be like I'd really overthink it and really beat myself down about it. But I think they know after 5 seconds when they see you if you're right for the part.
I know. You need to keep telling yourself that, don't you? It's hard to get it over, but once you get the hang of it,
Aye, exactly.
Right, brilliant. Thanks very much, Stephen, for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope everybody enjoyed watching/listening, depending on how you listen to this week's episode. Really appreciate your time. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and we'll see you all next time.